Well, thank you, Corby. I appreciate that, and thank you for taking care of the legal portion. Before we get going, Joe Muriello is the bank's partner with Hutchison and Bloodgood, who's been assigned to our account, and Joe was not here when I was doing introductions. So I wanted to take a moment before we got going and introduce Joe. Joe, stand up. So by introductions, Joe, Shareholders, Joe. He does a fine job for us, and it's a very good company, and we're very pleased to have them do our audit work. Also, let me back up once, because I blew it the first time, and apparently this doesn't work anymore. Oh, there we go. Oh, but really fitting. On your table is a little questionnaire. If you could update the information that we have. I know myself, occasionally I may get a new phone, which may include a new phone number or a new email address or something like that. And if you could fill this out and just keep us up to date. We'd like to be able to communicate with our shareholders by email more than we have. And unfortunately, we don't have email addresses for everybody. In some cases, we don't have cell phone numbers for everybody. So if you could fill that out, for us, it would be helpful. Again, the agenda tonight, elect the board of directors, ratify the appointment of the auditors. That's all been done. And answer any questions. I'm going backward. That doesn't work. There we go. All right. Every year I worry I'm going to blow it, and I think it's going to be this year. But anyway, first thing is to look at the year in review. Generally, I like to touch on the economy, just give you at least my perspective of how the economy is doing. Of course, we report on the performance of the bank, and then we give a little bit of a look forward as to what we might expect over the near term. Well, 2013, that was an interesting year, kind of a fun year in many ways. It was a good year for the bank. As many of you know, we had previously had an agreement with the OCC, primary regulator. It required a great deal of work on our part, and we had to work through some loans. That all got taken care of, and we came off that in 2013. So we had a party, and it was really pretty neat. What else? 2013. This guy here with the arrow, he got into trouble. He and his brother and his dad and their family, he took a position on the biblical definition of marriage and relationships, and he got into trouble over it. And in fact, he got fired for a period of time. And it's not surprising. Clean-cut family there, his brother, everybody's looking good. There's Dad, of course, all-American guy. And here's his brother, of course, military. Anyway, they got in trouble. It was a big deal, and most of you probably don't recognize these people. This is the most amazing thing. You see the guy in the middle there, you know, with the dark beard and he's the guy on top. That's just not possible. I know I'm biased, but they look smarter here than they do here. Yes, the Robertson family got into trouble with A&E over, they did an interview for GQ magazine, and apparently some of the comments they thought were not gay friendly, and so they were going to suspend their program, but something like 10 million people wrote letters saying, we'll kill you if you do. So they said, just kidding, no, everything's okay. It's kind of funny, the Cracker Barrel, the retail outlet, pulled all of their products off and said, you know, we're not going to. And they got such a response to this, the CEO, you know, the guy in my job came and said, apparently we made a mistake. We're going to put it back on the shelves. I love it when you make the CEO trouble. What else happened in 2013? The Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, was introduced. Bit of a miss there. Introduced October 1st, and I think the first week they had like 57 signups. It was so hard to get signed up. Within a few weeks, I'm told there were 660 fraudulent scam sites that were acting as though they were Obamacare sites. And of course that was a problem for the administration and for users, like how do you tell, is this the real site or is this the fake site? And so what they quickly did was to determine if you got through, it was a fake site. Yeah. When the administration sold the idea, they said there'd be about 9 million people sign up for this. Well, there was about 8.5 million off, but anyway, that's a different issue. This is Kathleen Sebelius, is it? The head of Health and Human Services. She had to fall on her sword over this deal, and it was her fault. George Bush just couldn't get worked into that one, you know, so somebody else had to take the blame. Here she's giving testimony to a Senate Investigating Committee. I don't know what she's saying, but she doesn't look happy about whatever it is. She ultimately resigned. I think it was resign or get fired, and so she decided to resign. A lot of people were in favor of Obamacare when they thought it was free. Turns out now you can get a policy that gives you free contraception. It just costs you $1,500 a month. So. And Hasbro, you know, jumped right on the bandwagon there and came out with a new game, Operation Obamacare. It's where the players attempt to extract the wallet out of the patient without making the buzzer go off. Kind of different from last year. But that's okay. The administration, they're getting kind of savvy on advertising now, and a lot of the insurance companies use animal icons. So, you know, the Geico gecko, he's a very cute guy. He's got that Australian accent. And so that's neat. And then Aflac has the duck, you know, well, Aflac. So the administration has come out with their own icon now. Hasn't taken off quite as well. Yeah. We got a new Pope in 2013. Pope Francis I. And his name isn't Francis, though. His name is George. I don't know why he's Francis. And what do you call it? Right? I don't know. I was thinking about, can you imagine this guy grew up and, you know, he played in the neighborhood, and what if they called him Bucky or something? If you call him Pope Bucky, you know, your Buckiness? What do you call him? I don't know. Well, he's the first Pope from the Americas, quote unquote, South America, actually, Argentina. And at one point he was a bouncer, which seems kind of inconsistent with the Pope to me. The Godfather, me, but not the Pope. The guy next to him here with the striped suit, that's a Swiss guard. And only Swiss guards protect the Vatican. And this has gone on for, I don't know, 100 years or something like that. And apparently these guys are extraordinarily brave. They're the bravest soldiers in the world. You would have to be brave to wear a uniform like that. I mean, really, you could be a ruthless killer and you look like a dork. Stop or I'll juggle something. I don't know. And the uniform goes back 100 years or something, but just tells me they didn't have any style sense 100 years ago either. Well, anyway, so George there is the new pope. Apparently he's a good guy. You know, comes from the common guys. So, Nelson Mandela died 95 years old. An interesting, distinguished life. Hugo Chavez died last year, not a minute too soon. Kind of ruined his country. Thought he'd experiment with socialism, see if he could destroy the economy, and he's pretty well done. Lawrence of Arabia died. Peter O'Toole. You know, he doesn't look Arab to me. Just something about the blue eyes there. They too. And Jewel Hauser died. I used to feel bad when I watched Jewel Hauser because he'd go to these places in California. I've lived here my whole life, you know, and he'd go to some place in my neighborhood sometimes. He'd have all these stories about that. I didn't know. I've been here my whole life. I didn't know anything about it. And he was from like Tennessee or something. I don't know anything about Tennessee either. No. What else? Edward Snowden, the civilian contractor working for the National Security Agency, decided that he was upset with the way they were running things, so he went off in exile to Russia, number one. Boy, that ticked everybody off. You know, Putin's getting good at ticking people off. But anyway, so Snowden's there in Russia, and then he starts revealing what the NSA is doing. And one of the things they're doing is what's called Operation PRISM, not prison as in bars, PRISM as in light. And apparently it allows the widespread, unauthorized surveillance of phone calls. You know, so when I heard that, I got my phone out and said, you know, bomber, terrorist. Yeah, they're probably waiting for me outside now. Yeah, after the whole flap, the NSA changed their seal. Thought they'd be a little more direct there. It turns out they were working in collaboration with some large companies. You know, when the Verizon commercial, can you hear me now? Well, it turns out they could. And you know, that's all fun and games, violate the civil rights of the American public. Yeah, that's all real cool. Until you tap the Chancellor of Germany. And Angela Merkel there, she is not happy about the idea of having her phone tapped. Can you imagine that, thinking about, oh my gosh, what did I say? Oh, yeah, that was that conversation. Man, that's not good. Yeah, well, the administration came out and says, oh, I'm shocked that was going on. I had no idea. Anybody know who that guy is? I showed this to Liz. She didn't know what I was talking about. That's Kansas. Yeah. She thought it was Fantasy Island. Oh, well. The state of Colorado. Colorado is the first state to legalize the recreational possession and use of marijuana. And apparently the city of Denver may have taken it too far. It's showing up in some different things. You know, there are different sort of business models that are popping up around Colorado now. In the fine print at the bottom it says over 8 million rolled, dude. But you know, it's there's a lot of activity there. They acted, I'm serious about this part. They were suggesting a marijuana credit union or bank because you know they can't put their ill-gotten gains in the bank, so they were going to club together and get their own bank. I don't know, but anyway. But it's so big. The state of Colorado was thinking of changing their flag. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. The government closed again. in 2013. The way this works is, the government is overdrawn. I just thought I'd mention that to you. It's about $16 trillion worth overdrawn, and every time they want to overdraw some more, they got to go back to Congress and ask for more. Not very different from my house. And some folks were upset about the amount of spending. Not so different from my house. And they said, you're spending too much money here. We're not going to approve increasing this thing. And if you don't approve it, you can't write the check, so you can't make the people come to work, so you got to close the government. And, both sides were, throwing rocks at each other. The Republicans are mean and the Democrats are crazy. And, they're just, and probably for most of us, it was just like, shut up. I'm tired of that. I think that sentiment was captured well with this cat. Yeah, the grumpy cat. Has everybody seen the grumpy cat? It was a year ago, the bombing in Boston. Two young men that immigrated as Islamic refugees from Chechnya, of all places, made homemade bombs out of pressure cookers. Made me a little more worried about using my pressure cooker, but anyway. Fortunately, only killed 3 people, which in that, a bomb in that large of an area, that's pretty good. Injured 264. It's really a tragedy. You're nice to people, you pay for their school, and look what they do. Paula Dean got in trouble. She was subject to a lawsuit, ex-employee, and in giving depositions, she said apparently 20 years ago, she used the N-word. And so that resulted in the Food Network coming out and canceling her shows. Her sponsors dropped her because 20 years ago, she used the N-word. That was pretty severe, I thought. She came out with a new cookbook. That didn't do the trick, though, unfortunately. But I guess she's rich, so it's okay. Prince William and Princess Kate, had a baby, Prince George. Now this is kind of strange, because you got a guy named George who becomes the Pope and he changed his name to Francis, but then you have an heir apparent and you name him George. I don't get it. But anyway, George is, kind of a regular baby, a lot of fanfare. He's third in line. And now William's brother Harry, I think Harry got bumped. Probably not happy about that. We're that close. So he had that kid. Kind of a normal baby. They dress him a little bit differently. Could you imagine this kid in kindergarten or something, pushing people around? What do you think you are, the King of England? Someday. So that's what happened in 2013. Kind of fun stuff, mostly. Interesting stuff. There's some good stuff I wanted to talk about, but it happened this year. Sterling and missing airlines. So the economy. Now, you may disagree with me on the economy, but things are really good. I keep telling people they're really good, but the press keeps telling them they're really bad. I think the press is winning, but I'll go through why I think it's so good. I grew up the wrong way. There we go. That's a clip from last year. I like it, so I'm going to leave it in next year, too. If we look at civilian employment on a seasonally adjusted basis, this goes back to 1948 here and runs all the way up to date. It's within 500,000 jobs of an all-time absolute high in employment and gaining at about 200,000 per. So actually that was a year in. By now we're probably at an all-time high if we look at May's numbers. Civilian non-farm job openings, those are jobs that are being advertised. If we put a horizontal line and bring it down, it's like the end of 2005. That was really good time. That doesn't sound like a terrible time for jobs. Now, my own theory on this, anecdotally, of course, as you know, we've got 3 sons, And they're getting big college age, and so they all come over our house because there's food. Well, there's food until they leave, and then there's no food. But anyway, and you talk to them, and they say, well, there are no jobs. Oh, really? No jobs at all? No jobs. Well, have you applied? I applied online one place. You thought maybe a couple more? I'm going to get her on there pretty soon. Right now I'm playing World of Warcraft here. Apparently the employers are supposed to come find them or something. I don't know what it is. Oh, what else? U.S. civilian unemployment rate. When we met last year, the unemployment rate was 7.2%. Today, it's 6.2%. Came down 100 basis points in 1 year. 83 basis points per month, or 8.3 basis points per month. And if we look on a historical basis, that's really not too bad. If we extend it out over the next 12 months, at this rate, we'd be in the low fives, about 5.2. And for a long time, we thought 5.2 was an absolute minimum. It couldn't get below that. In a modern economy, just the regular turnover of employment would leave about 5% of the employees transitioning. So it's really very, very good. 6.2 and dropping at the rate it is a good number. If you look at gross domestic product, and that's the sum total of all goods and services, everything we do, it's an all-time record there. $16 trillion worth per year. Real disposable personal income, all-time high, never been higher. Real personal consumption expenditures, that's the stuff we go to, well, I was going to say go to Target and spend. Actually, that's somebody else's fraudulent deal. But we go to Walmart and spend money. The aggregate total is personal consumption expenditures, or PCE, all-time record high. Industrial production, all-time record high. We're making more widgets than we've ever made before. Private non-residential fixed investment is at a new record. Foreclosure activity is in 2005 level. 2005, nobody needed to be foreclosed on it because values were going up so fast. And if we look at average values, this is the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. And if you look at the end portion there, that's the past 24 months. And in each area surveyed, the gold one on the top is Los Angeles. And then the purple one is Las Vegas. The black one is the 20-city index. They're all moving up sharply at a rate above the 5% median, with the exception of New York. And that's okay. I hope New York goes broke, because I'm like it. If we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's up 10.37 so far this year. Today wasn't a particularly good year, or a good day, but overall it's up 10.37. The S&P 500 is up 15%, and the NASDAQ is up 22%. So it's hard to find a bad number these days. So in summary, as we look at the economy, unemployment rate is relatively low, 6.2, and continuing to drop at a pretty good rate. If we look at the per capita income, it's at an all-time high. Nice. Demand for workers is high. I was talking with one of our customers the other day. He's in the construction business, and he was saying it's very difficult to get quality workers. Wasn't that long ago. We didn't think we could get enough. Home prices continue to rise in virtually all markets. Foreclosures are down and falling. Stock market is up substantially. Really, the economy is doing extraordinarily well. Just anecdotally, and I'll go over that in just a minute, our bank finished the year with 0 loan delinquency. Things are really good. And on that note, let's take a look at our bank. We've talked about the economy. It's doing well. So how is our bank doing? More importantly, how's our stock doing? This is a chart that illustrates our bank stock over the past 24 months. And it has risen a total of 43% over the past 24 months, going from $10 per share to $4.31 today. If we compare that rise with the S&P 500, that's the green. $4. Did I say $4? Yes. I'm sorry. $14.31. The reason I goofed up was it $14.30 or 31? I didn't remember. And when you do that mid-sentence, you say something dumb like $4. I didn't get the penny wrong. I got the $10. Anyway, $14.31. If we compare that with the S&P 500, we can see it's up about 40%, so we're slightly ahead of the S&P. If we look at the NASDAQ, similarly, NASDAQ's up about 40% over the past 24 months, and we're slightly ahead of that. If we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's up about 30%, and so we're substantially better than the Dow. Okay, those are all big indexes. What about something more local? Well, this is Citizens Business Bank, or CBB Bancorp, and the green line represents CBB, which is up just below 30% over that same period of time. So our stock has done very well when we compare it with CBB also. Now, Riverside is Provident Financial Services, the old Provident Savings, about a $2 billion community bank, focuses on a lot of mortgages. That's the red line. They're up about 25%, so we're looking pretty good. And if we look at Security Bank out in Riverside, again, a community bank, about $500 million, and they're relatively flat over the past 2 years. So our bank has performed better than those other three stocks also. So in comparison with the major indexes, we've done well, and if we compare ourselves with other community banks, we've also done well. If we look at the performance over the past year, total asset growth was really good this year. It's at an all-time record of $123 million. It's a new point, high level for the bank. Similarly, deposit growth is at a new all-time high of $109 million, doing very well on deposits. And of those, today, 54% of our deposits were non-interest bearing. A very high level for a bank of our size. Looking at loan growth was also a new record at $64 million. And as I pointed out before, loan quality is particularly good. It's one thing to have a whole bunch of loans, and on the other hand, it's a different thing to have a whole bunch of good loans. So at the end of the year, our loan delinquency was 0. We only had one loan, which was on non-accrual. And non-accrual is where a loan is so bad you don't count the interest. That loan, by the way, it continues to make all payments as agreed. The reason it's non-accrual is because his tax returns don't show he can make payments, but he continues to. I'm suspicious he doesn't report everything on his tax returns. We had 0 OREO, that's properties owned by the bank through foreclosure at year end. Loans charged off, that's an important number. You know, we look at the bank's performance based on what their credit loss is as a percentage. Actually, the bank's credit losses last year was a minus 57,000, meaning we got back 57,000 net. There was 0 charge-offs, and we recovered 57,000. The ALL, that stands for Allocation Loan and Lease Loss Reserve. And that's money that's put aside in case we get a bad loan. So we've got about $1.5 million, or we did at year end, just in case the loan goes bad. Unfortunately, they're all paid. Represents about 2.3%. The most loss the bank has ever had in any one fiscal year is 99 basis points, or about 1%. So we've got about 2.3 times our highest loss ever. So I think we're in good position on our asset quality. If we look at revenue growth, now that's a different thing. In this most recent year, we're about $5.8 million in gross revenue, and it's not a record. Our challenge, and the challenge for all of the banks in our industry, is we have loans on the books for, let's call it 7%, that we may have had on the books for some period of time. We renew those loans, we're renewing at a lower rate, sometimes around 5%, sometimes 4.95%. So we're going from the 7% range to the 5% range, and it's showing up in revenue. Now, the only way you can offset this is you've got to increase the total number of loans, and we're doing that, but it's pretty hard to do it as fast as rates have come down. Fortunately, the interest expense for the bank is at an all-time record low, as we can see here, in 2013. If we compare that with 2008, 2009, went from about $1 million a year to about $270,000 a year, so a big savings there. Non-interest expense, now this is the rent and the light bill and that sort of thing, expenses that we have that aren't interest. And that was about $3.8 million, but as we can see over the past 4 years, it's been fairly flat or down. And in our business, about 60% of our costs are in the form of salary and benefits to our employees, and everybody wants a raise. So it's a challenge for us to continue to keep our costs low, but we've been able to do that. If we look at that same number as a percentage, so we saw that it was fairly flat, but as we see a percentage, it's coming down. The reason is your total assets go up and your costs stay the same. As a percentage, it goes down. So we saw it was 3.14%, and that was an all-time low for us as a percentage. And that's an important way that we can overcome that lower interest rate environment that we're dealing with. On earnings, it's a good year for earnings. Went from $741,000 to $1,090,000. That's a 47% increase in bank-only net after-tax profits. If we look at consolidated profits at the holding company, which is where our shares lie, that's up 59%. So significant increase in net after-tax earnings this year. Similarly, if we look at earnings per share, it's up 57%, going from 72 cents per share to $1.13 per share. And if we look at diluted earnings per share, similarly, that's 57%, going from 72 cents to $1.13. And by the way, on that note, stock options sometimes come up, especially in small publicly traded companies like community banks. And it's a sensitive area. As a shareholder, I would be sensitive to that. And the idea is that management and the board will sometimes grant themselves large stock options, which allows them to buy the stock at a price which is below market level, and it dilutes shareholder value. At this time, the board of directors and management have no outstanding stock options. So when we talk about diluted earnings per share or basic earnings per share, it's the same number. It's a minor thing, but I think it's significant. And just to give you some idea that your board isn't benefiting themselves in the form of stock options. We were very pleased to recently be informed that for the fiscal year 2013, the bank was given super premier performing status by the Finley reports. This is the second or third year we've gotten super premier performing. That's their highest rating, and very pleased about that. When the list came out, we were one above Citizens Business Bank. Liz pointed out that it was alphabetic, but I think that we're just slightly above Citizens. Also, earlier in the year, we were given a 5-star rating by Bauer Financial Inc. This is an independent rating company that rates banks. And stars are 1 through 5. You don't want to be a 1, you want to be a 5. 5 is their highest rating. So very pleased to get their 5-star rating also. So in summary, economic conditions are really, really good. I'm afraid we may not appreciate it until we go into the next recession. The banking industry is improving and is strong. The conditions of our bank are particularly strong and good. From a competitive perspective, as we went into the recession, we had about 20 more competitors than we do today. It's really kind of nice. Interest rates are extraordinarily low, which is a little bit of a mixed bag. As I mentioned, we're rewriting our loans at lower interest rates, but as the Fed goes through their tapering process, we expect the long end of the curve to move up, and we hopefully will get a little more pricing pressure on our loans. Residential home sales are strong and rising in most markets. Demand for credit is increasing. Our pipeline of loans in process is at an all-time record right now. In terms of forward projections, what do we see going forward? Well, we had completed the formal agreement with the OCC. We've collected all the troublesome loans, and now we're back on a path of growth. We can get back in and start to build our totals again. And the great thing about the banking industry is if Some of our costs are fixed, so the building, for example, and the lights and the insurance are fixed. And we're at 123 million in total assets. If we were to increase that to 200 million in total assets, it more than doubles our earnings without the relative increase in costs. So growth is important. And for that reason, we need to increase our loan totals. As I mentioned, our pipeline is at an all-time record now. Evaluate strategic alliances. That's one of those fuzzy words nobody knows what it means. It means if somebody wants to buy us, we'll talk to them. But we're not anxious. We want to maximize value. And focus on the fundamentals. You know, one thing I think your board embraces and management embraces is there's no magic pill here. There's no magic trick. You don't grow overnight, you know, from zero to something. It's about step by step building a firm foundation. As I talk to the analysts about our bank now, I point out to them that our bank was profitable every quarter through the entire recession. We never had a losing quarter. The driving range will be closing here in just a few minutes. So focusing on the fundamentals of sound lending and good customer service. So the economy's good. We had a phenomenal year. Earnings are up 59%. Growth is going well. What's the next question? Unfortunately, Rudy Carmona couldn't be here tonight to jump up and ask the question, so I put it in the slide. I didn't have a picture of Rudy, so I just found one. What about the dividend? Well, on that note, on May the 1st, your board of directors approved the payment of a 10% stock dividend. That will be as of the record date of May 22nd. So for shareholders of record next Thursday, they will receive a 10% stock dividend, which is payable on July 1st. This is a lot more fun presentation than last year. Not here. In fact, I'm kind of mean. Rudy sold his stock. He piled it into Visa. I hope he does okay. But and he and I are friends. So I went and got my hair cut yesterday. I said, "Hey, Rudy, did you hear the board paid a 10% stock dividend?" Yeah, it was great. So 10% stock dividend. So what this means is if you have 100 shares, you will get 10 additional shares in the mail. Now, by the way, when we send you the certificate, don't lose it. They're real. You know, hang on to it. Put it in a safe place so you can find it. The record date, May 22nd. So if you were to buy 100 shares on the 21st, you would also get the dividend on the shares you owned on the 22nd. So something to keep in mind. And the issuance date is July 1st. That's when the certificates will actually be mailed out. And by the way, we have heard your comments, and of course we're all shareholders too, and we thought about that and trying to strike a balance. Part of the challenge is if we do a cash dividend, as I've mentioned before, it's relatively small. It's in the pennies per share. And we would quite likely be writing a lot of checks for $10 or $11, which probably aren't going to buy very many people vote. Or any. Not only that, it's $10 or $11 and it's fully taxable as ordinary dividend income. In this particular case, when we do a stock dividend, you'll be getting 10 shares in the mail, and if somebody wants to convert that to cash uniquely for them, they can sell those 10 shares, and that's capital gains income. So we think this strikes a good balance. It allows shareholders that want to continue to accumulate shares to do so, and it allows shareholders that want to be able to convert it to cash to be able to do so. And so we're excited about this. We have, of course, talked to a number of people about it, and there seems to be very good reception in the market to this. So. In the future, the general plan is to have additional stock dividends be reflective of earnings. So if, for example, the bank were to earn, now last year the bank earned a return on average equity of 10.4%, and this is a 10% stock dividend. If in this next year we were to earn, let's say, another 10%, then we would expect to see similar stock dividends in the future. So, all right, well, if there are no other questions or nothing else to come before the board, I want to thank you all for coming. We've had a great year last year. We're excited about this year. Things are going in the right direction. This is a good time to be in banking, good time to be in our community, and we've got a great team that's working on the bank. The bouquets were put together by the staff of the bank. That's the other thing, we're kind of cheap. So, yeah, if you go by the cemetery, there aren't any problems. In the past, what I've said is, whoever birthday is closest to today, take the bouquet home with you. But it occurred to me, the same people are getting the bouquet every year. So what do you say? The bank was open September 1st, 2000. Why don't we say whoever birthday is closest to September 1st, you get to take the bouquet home with you.